We all know kids are accessing social media at younger and younger ages. The question is, could having a social media account make your child more prone to mental health issues? Take a look at this. Could social media networks be seriously detrimental to your child's mental health? A recent survey of almost 1,500 teens and young adults assessed the psychological effects of 5 social networks, including YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram. What were the results? All 5 social networks received negative marks for sleep quality, bullying, body image, and fear of missing out. 4 of the networks were associated with increases in depression and anxiety, with Instagram ranking worst for body image and anxiety. In this digital age, are today's kids destined to a life of anxiety and despair? Or is it time for parents to put a timeout on their kids' social media? I have never been a huge fan of the overuse of social media, but at this point, it's everywhere.
Study after study after study shows increased anxiety, increased depression. The more time you spend on these things, all of your stressors go through the roof. You know, there's a Harvard study that actually, believe it or not, showed that by looking at the photographs and the posts that the people are posting can actually predict depression. Imagine that, right? And what they're seeing is this: when someone is using a lot of filters, so if your child is using filters, by filters I mean change the photographs, change the colors, the styles. If they're using grays and blues and darker colors, they're more apt to potentially be depressed. So pay attention to these filters, right? Okay. Good idea. If your kids are under 18, you got to monitor their internet use, okay?
It's your job.
Yeah, it's your job.
You're
As a
not
parent, as a
snooping,
guardian, monitor their internet.
So you're monitoring, and you're looking for some of these signs. So you're checking for filters.
Yep, checking for filters.
This whole concept of perfection overload?
Perfection overload. Now imagine this, right? The kids that are posting these pictures online, they have all these apps to make you look beautiful and pretty. So now what's happening is these kids are projecting who they think others want them to be, but that's not who they are. So if parents see their kids and their photos are completely different people, that's a red flag. Is the person that you want to be online not the person that you really think you are? And what's the difference? There's a disconnect, right? Important.
And I'm scared to hear that there are certain high-risk apps where if they're present, it can increase a child's risk for suicide?
Yeah. It's the anonymous apps. Guys, there are these anonymous apps now. That's the trick. They don't want to be identified when they type and blog and do all these things. So there are apps that promise you that you can spill all of your emotions on the internet and it's completely anonymous. But here's the problem. If you're anonymous to put your emotions and feelings on the internet, people can also say some pretty bad things about you on the internet anonymously, right? With no real accountability.
What scares me is I understand that theoretically more screen time could make you more apt for depression, emotional issues, but the direct correlation between screen time and suicide rates is disturbing to me. So as a parent, you need to monitor what they're using, how often they're using it. And is this just like the sex conversation? The earlier you have the conversation, the better?
Talk to them about it. Talk to them about it. Let it be an open, understanding conversation that everybody's on the table about.
Think about this, and people at home, think about this as well. This probably is one of the few times in all of our lives, our studio audience members, because you're not supposed to have your phones out. We don't bring our phones out here on stage. Right. This is probably one of the few times in our lives now where we don't have technology beyond the cameras, and we just have conversation, and it's kind of nice, right?
It's nice.
It's pleasant.
It is. And you know, I think at the end of the day, a lot of people, we're basing our self-worth on what we see on the internet and comparing ourselves to one another. And just to see what a profound impact it's having on kids, there was an article last year and they said that about 500,000 children or 500,000 young girls made YouTube videos entitled, "Am I Pretty or Ugly?" Oh, so they really do care what other people think. They want those likes, they want the hearts, and if they don't get that, then it truly makes them feel as though they're not worth it.
And they're setting themselves up for that, for an unpleasant,
and that's very unfortunate.
You know, there's a saying that some Stanford psychiatrists came up with. It's called duck syndrome. Now listen how funny this is. You know when you see a duck and they're kind of gliding along the water and everything looks perfect? You don't see their little feet scrambling underneath. So they call social media duck syndrome because everybody looks perfect on the surface, but you have no idea what's going on underneath.
I like that.
Just a good reminder, a really good reminder.